So what's your name?
I'm Chef Roger.
Chef Roger. All right, I'm Ross, by the way.
Hi, Ross. And my family came in 1847, and being minorities of color, we were kind of restricted in what our family was allowed to do in American culture, and they cooked 1847. So it's in my blood. I love the business. And it's rather interesting that it's going through a renaissance right now, and it's shameful how it's being treated in this city specifically. Austin treats it like they've invented this somehow, or it's being created somehow in Austin. It's happened for over 200 years in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia. You know, it's only happened less than 10 years here. And our restrictions are arbitrary and capricious. There's rumors that the regulations are restrictive to protect the restaurants. Yet, if you look at every single one of the so-called trailer parks, which are these as opposed to a truck, they're always across the street or next door to a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Trucks by nature are mobile. We enjoy moving. This is one of the few cities in the entire country where we can't vend from the street.
Is this you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And where we can't vend from the street. It makes absolutely no sense. I hate it that I have to compete with brick and mortar. I have tremendous respect for them. And it's unfair competition it is that we're allowed to pop up next to them. Mm-hmm. My one comfort area here is in East Austin, there's a lot of restaurants and a lot of bars that don't have kitchens. So we can fill that void quite well. Trucks fill that perfectly, where I could pull up next to a bar or a cafe that doesn't have a kitchen and act as their kitchen. That's a brilliant solution. But to force us into these and to treat trailers and trucks as the same, it's just sheer lazy governance. Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of lazy governance that when budgets are bad and they have across-the-board cuts, and it sounds so democratic, so fair to have a 5% cut, but the reality is, having managed this city and a top 5 city in the country, there are departments that can absorb 15, even pushing to 20% cuts, and they'll be all right. There are other departments that will be devastated at 3. So when city leaders do and federal leaders do 5 across the board, it solves nothing. Mm-hmm. But the people think that, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Does not. Does not. It's a big lie. They need to free this up. They need to stop this. It's not right.
So what would you say the best way that they should push forward with that?
They should manage it properly. They should look at cities that do it. If they want us to be in restricted parks and restricted areas, then you do look at our neighbors, Round Rock, Pflugerville, Cedar Park. They're managing the growth, where the city works with developers to define areas. When I ran this city, very few cities across the country own as much private land as our cities do in Texas. We could have easily designated spots for this, and we don't. Even our tiny little towns that the big city makes fun of, they had to listen to do that. Georgetown, see, all of them are designing areas specifically for it, so it's controlled and managed properly. We don't. So now all of these people have to fend with development, and it's haphazard, and it's not good for anybody. All businesses do best when it's predictable, when it's consistent, and when it's reliable. And we've made that field for vendors totally unreliable, totally unpredictable, and over-restricted.
Just the restrictions on zoning and where y'all can be?
Oh yeah, the fact that a truck can't vend from the street, that's absurd. That's totally absurd.
At any point? There's no...
Never. The only time you can do it with a special permit, and that's for limited time, limited days.
Gotcha.
Limited number of times per year.
So you're here most of the year, or?
No, we move around, but we can only work out deals with private sector, which eats into our overhead. So this movement has probably done more to help our local economy and to keep us afloat in a crappy global economy than almost any other sector, far more than high tech. far more than auto industry. And yet, they bind us and punish us the most. It just makes no sense. Makes no sense.
I've talked to other, trucks, trailers, and they bring up the overhead as like being a main incentive to entering this industry over a brick and mortar
under
shop.
a normal circumstance, it would be a large advantage doing a trailer chucked in a brick and mortar because of the lack of high overhead. But the way we manage it, not so much. We've got high rent rates and utility rates that eats into that margin.
Right.
No, it's one of the most ridiculous managed programs in the country. And I've been at the federal level. I've been at the state level. I've been at the city level. It's a mockery. It's shameful.
Do you feel like there's hope? Do you feel like Austin will wise up, or what do you think the future of this industry is in Austin?
We have been successful over the past 5 to 8 years in spite of ourselves. I manage this city in what now is wonderfully referred to as the good years, 2000 to 2002, where there was adult supervision and there was cooperation between council and the city management. We don't have that anymore. Here where you have a college professor councilman who orders a $65,000 study on an event where he knows in advance the study won't be complete until after the vote is taken. So why do the study? And he does. No, that's such an insult to the public. But he knows he can get away with it because the 7% of registered voters voting, 7% all of a sudden is a mandate. Apartheid all of a sudden is the rule of law. It's shameful.
Did you go to Anderson? Just a personal question.
Lacrosse coach.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who went there. So.
Yeah, and my kids did.
Oh, okay, very cool. My friend played tennis and soccer and stuff.
Yeah, and my son goes to UT now.
Oh yeah, so do I. Yeah,
I have twins.
What years?
He's a 5th year engineering.
Oh, okay.
Which is a 5-year program.
Yeah, definitely Cockrell. But pretty much touched on a lot more than other stuff. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? I mean, just because
No, I think the people need to rise up and force our legislators to do the right thing. It's amazing to me some of the crap that's going down now, and no one seems to bother, and it's just amazing to me.
Sure. What would your ideal climate be if, like, your changes could be implemented in a way
for this industry specifically?
Yeah, specifically.
I think the ideal thing would be for the government to take some leadership and work with development of areas. It's sort of like it's the same reason why no major city in Texas, and we have 5 of them, and they're not just 5 large cities in Texas, but they're 5 large cities in the U.S.
Right.
This city alone, Austin, just surpassed San Francisco as the 13th largest city.
Really? I didn't know that.
And when you come here, does it have any of the maturity of San Francisco? No. Does it have any of the structure of San Francisco? No. The only thing we got going for us is our lane, keep Austin weird. And that's what keeps us successful, because it's out of control. So with that out of control, gives creative people a chance to do what they need to do in spite of themselves. But that's not right. You ought to account for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. Keep Austin Weird is for supporting local businesses, but the way that you're saying it, it's
right.
like Austin's kind of...
Yeah, look, back when I was assistant city manager, they had passed this notion that we're the music capital. But 2000, 2002, check how many music venues had closed. Look how many music have closed since then. We're the music capital? Maybe in our heads.
It's a good motto.
Yeah. The great thing, which is why I said we've succeeded in spite of ourselves, because people not from here, just like companies, very few companies are as great in real life as their reputations are. Because their reputations are managed by people like me, for a living. Well, similarly, cities are organizations too. This as a country, America is not as open-minded, as liberal, as friendly as we tell people we are. You know, let's get serious. My family's been here since 1847, but because I'm ethnically pure, I'm treated like an immigrant every day. And I speak better English than a lot of white people I meet. My family's been here longer, but I still get treated like a second-class citizen. Ultimately means treated like shit. But that's a reality I didn't create, so I have to learn to do the best I can within that. And that's just the way it is.
And you seem to have been very successful, so.
And once again, in spite of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why Asians specifically have been treated differently than any other minority of color. We're the only people where affirmative action have not helped one iota, but hurt us.
California laws are, you know.
Yeah. I was a political appointee in D.C. when California passed Proposition 2222, restricting Asians from getting into top schools. I said, what? They said, yeah, if we allow Asians on our merit, then, gee, 60-70% of all major universities would be nothing but yellow. And I said, your point is? Raise the standards. We're not asking anyone to lower it, to give us any breaks. We don't even get scholarships when we deserve them. We have to run trucks with PhDs just to be treated equal to a clown who hasn't even gone to school, but his color's different.
Do you have a PhD?
I don't.
Oh.
But many of my peers do. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is, kind of veering off topic, but that is a very interesting, the way that, I don't know, it's like the people, because Asians, I believe, are, I think, the lowest represented in the actual government.
Well, not quite.
No?
Here's an interesting thing. Probably the most positive actual thing that the Clinton administration can own is they authorize the most thorough review of government employment in terms of performance reviews. Across the board, 0 exceptions, from the tiniest agency and department to the largest cabinet. Asians were consistently the absolute highest ranked for performance, but dead last for compensation and promotion. After fooling with statistics and deviations and variances, the lady that was in charge of giving it could not attribute it to nothing any more complicated or simple as institutional prejudice. And she was so saddened by it. Once she delivered it to the Federal Asian Pacific American Council, she quit her job. It just tore her up. She could hardly give her report without crying. And I said, welcome to our world. We accept this crap.
It's your life.
You look at the Dewhurst election, slamming Cruz. You look at the Obama election, slamming Romney. They all not only slam each other, but they're also slamming China whenever they can.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now, if we were Jews, you'd have the Jewish Defamation League up your ass in a heartbeat. If we were black, you'd have the NAACP burning down cities. But because we're Asian, we take it on the chin and keep eating the shit. Well, unfortunately, the BRIC is now Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And of the BRIC, they all admit China's first amongst equals. China takes this very seriously. The world could be a lot worse off if another nation ruled, because at least we've been doing it for 7,000 years. And you don't do that with being either as stupid as non-Asians say we are. You know what I mean?
Is that your country of way back before 1847, China?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, this stuff, China, look, 20% of Chinese speak English and have never been outside of China. Well,
and a huge percentage in India as well.
Which raises another issue with the language thing and this